Hey everybody, Dave here. Hope you're having an awesome day. So, the world is just nuts. I don't know what's going on, but the Starbucks Bearista Cup, like people are going nuts over this thing. I don't even drink coffee because I think it tastes disgusting, but I thought it would be super funny to make my own. So I went out and got this little guy, and we're gonna make our own Barista Cup. And yeah, let's do it just because we can. All right, let's do it.
Boys.
All right, so I got myself a little honey jar at Walmart. And first things first, we got to peel off these stickers. Right as I started this, I was thinking, oh, if I would have hit this with a little bit of heat, it might have come off a little bit easier. So I am left with a little bit of gunk on here, but not a big deal. I'll just use some Goo Gone for that. I did get out the heat gun. I kept it pretty far away. I didn't want to melt the plastic or anything, but it just hit that really quick with a little bit of heat. You could also do this with a hair dryer. And you can see that came off a lot easier. Slow and steady, but just one little piece of goo right at the bottom there. But I can get that off when I clean the front. So first things first, I need to transfer this honey. I told my wife, I said, I need to get a honey bear. And she goes, oh, that's perfect because I'm just about running out of my honey. So transfer that over for her. Got some Goo Gone there. Just spray that on, smear it around. I let it sit for 30 seconds or so. Then take a paper towel, just wipe that right off. Goo Gone is like an amazing thing, especially if you do a lot of thrift storing. The sticker sticks so bad. All right, so for the hat, I started off with some Super Sculpey, just rolling it out here. I kept it a pretty good width. That way I could wrap it around, and I'm just making the band here. And so I'm just sticking this on. Now, I started with this band. As I build this, this isn't quite the best way to go about doing this, but you'll see here as I go through this process, I'm just kind of smoothing everything out. And I need to think about the straw. So before I get too far along, I'm going to put a hole in here. This is that Factory Team ream tool that one of my viewers, Dave, sent me. I use this thing all the time. And this is just easier than busting out the hand drill and just like blasting through. You can kind of slowly grind it down to exactly where you need it to be. The straw fits in there great. I'm going to go ahead and just scuff this up so I can glue this top down. I don't need this to open once I put the clay over the top. So once that's glued, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, it's too tall. I need to trim this down a little bit. So I went ahead and I'm going to just carefully remove this piece that I've already put on here. And then I'm going to get my little Dremel tool out here. I know it's not Dremel brand, it's a Ryobi, but you get the idea. And I'm just kind of dremeling off the top portion. I'm trying to taper it down almost like the shape of the cap. Because I glued this down, this is actually working out pretty nice. I really like that. So clean up my space here because I'm going to be rolling clay around and I don't want the plastic to get into the clay. And I'll put this back on. Okay, now that that's back on, I'll screw this onto the bottle. And I need something to protect that hole as I'm sculpting. So I just took a piece of polystyrene rod, filled that. I'm rolling out another piece and I'm rolling it thinner than the original band was. So I'm going to trim this down, just trim down one side because that's going to allow me to butt it up against the band. So I'm kind of just wrapping this around. And I really stink at figuring out how to make domes. So I'm sure there's a smarter way to do this, but I just kind of wrapped it around, took my knife and I make little slices, and then I started folding the pieces over. And you'll see here in a second, I'm going to end up with a hot mess. I've just got clumps of clay everywhere, so I'm just going to smooth it out, blend it in. At this point, I'm noticing the band is not quite working, so I'm going to go ahead and blend all that together. And I'm going to go ahead and trim the part that's kind of overlapping a little too much, peel that off, and I think that's going to look a lot better. I do need to smooth all this out, but I didn't love the shape, so I'm kind of smashing the shape down, trying to get that a little bit more sloped, so it looks a little bit more like the beanie. And at this point, I'm like, oh man, I hope this plastic doesn't melt when I cook the Super Sculpey. But I did look online, and the lids are made out of a polypropylene, and they typically melt around 325, and I'm only putting this in the oven at 275, so fingers crossed, we'll see. At this point, I was like, I don't know. So anyways, I got the band on the hat there. I think that looks a lot better. I've got the nice shape of the dome, and then I've got the band around it. I'm just using this little tool to kind of round that out, and then I start sculpting the actual tufts of the beanie cap. I don't know if that's the word, tufts, stitching, I don't know. I'm not a beanie wearer necessarily, but yeah, so I'm kind of just sculpting, and then I'm going to drag this line all the way to the hole at the top where the straw goes in. I did, as I was sculpting, I would take the tool and kind of round out the edges so everything kind of smoothly transitioned into each other. And after doing this, I did this again about 20 times all the way around the hat. Again, just pulling it all the way up to the straw hole there. And once I had this done, I wanted to smooth everything out. And I saw a YouTuber do this a long time ago. I honestly don't know who it is, or I would give them credit, but I'm just taking a little bit of mineral spirits and brushing it. And the bristles of the brush and the mineral spirits itself kind of soften that and kind of smooth everything and kind of round everything out. So that worked out really nice for me. I'll just take my thumb and kind of smooth out a couple last little things there. And I did let the paint thinner kind of run off a little bit and then to put it in the oven. While that's baking, the eyes were a little too beady, so I'm going to just take this Posca marker and kind of redraw and rebuild some of this. The Starbucks Bear has a little thing coming down at the end of the nose. That looks great. And I did do a clear coat over all this so it would last. There it is all baked up. Now I got to spray this. I'm going to prime it, and then I'll spray it this green color that I got. And here's the green. It's a little shiny. I probably should have done a matte coat on it, but yeah, I think this one's done.
All right, it's done. In the turnaround shots, you'll notice I did a shot of it without a scarf, but I was like, it needs one more little touch. So I took an old paint t-shirt that I had that was red, and I cut the hem off, and I made a little scarf. So I love the ridiculousness of this. It feels like when you order a kid's meal and you get the little chocolate milk with it. That's kind of what I'm calling this. So this is the Bearista Junior. And I love the ridiculousness of people camping out, hunting for these. And as silly as it sounds, no judgment here, because I've done the same thing for toys. And, you know, there's just a passion that people want and love something so much that they'll just do crazy stuff for it. So anyways, let's do some turnaround shots of this thing. And I hope you enjoyed it. As always, it's a great day to be a toy nerd, and always fun to make something silly and awesome. Have a great one.